The last species to resist the Dominion had been erased from existence 4,000 years ago. Their planet now served as a mining colony, their name forgotten by everyone except the historians who recorded their extinction. Admiral Gorveth remembered this as his fleet emerged from hyperspace near the gas giant the locals called Jupiter. 500 warships carried 2 million soldiers. Enough firepower to crack continents, enough troops to occupy a dozen worlds. The blue planet hung in the distance like a jewel waiting to be claimed. Scan complete, his sensor officer announced. They have spread across their star system, colonies on the red planet and several moons, primitive fusion reactors, basic defensive satellites. Gorveth allowed himself a thin smile, his scales rippled with satisfaction. This would be his 18th conquest. The Dominion Emperor would reward him greatly. Open a channel to the planet. He commanded. Standard subjugation protocol. The message was the same. One the Dominion had broadcast to countless worlds: surrender immediately, accept integration into the Dominion as a servant species, resistance will result in extinction, the Emperor offers mercy to those who kneel. Gorveth expected panic, he expected desperate pleas for negotiation, he expected the frantic scrambling of a primitive species realizing they faced annihilation. What he received was laughter. The transmission came from a facility buried deep beneath a mountain range on the largest continent. A human female appeared on his view screen. She wore a simple gray uniform, her hair was silver with age, her eyes held no fear. Admiral Gorveth of the Dominion Third Fleet, she said, I am Rosa Delgado, Commander of Earth's Defense Council. We received your message, then you understand your situation. Gorveth replied, surrender now and your species will be permitted to serve. We understand our situation perfectly, Delgado said, the question is whether you understand yours. Gorveth's eyes narrowed. You threaten me with your primitive technology. Your species has barely mastered space travel. We have conquered 40,000 worlds. Yes, you have, Delgado agreed. We know, we have been watching you for 200 years. The word struck Gorveth like a physical blow. Impossible, our sensors would have detected any surveillance. Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect, Delgado said. 2 centuries ago, we found one of your observation probes drifting near our outer planets. We studied it, we learned your language, your technology, your history. We discovered what the Dominion does to species that cannot defend themselves. Gorveth felt something cold settle in his chest. You are bluffing. We built weapons you cannot imagine, Delgado continued. We developed defenses you cannot breach. We prepared for this exact moment, the day your empire finally noticed us. Words, Gorveth spat, nothing but words, all species claim strength before they fall. Advance the fleet. His ships began moving toward Earth, 500 vessels of war, engines burning bright against the darkness. They crossed the orbit of the ringed planet without incident. They passed the asteroid belt. They drew closer to the red planet where human colonists watched from underground bunkers. Then the lights went out. It happened simultaneously across every ship. Navigation failed. Weapons went offline. Communication arrays died, even the internal lighting flickered and faded. Gorveth stood in darkness, surrounded by the panicked voices of his crew. What is happening? He demanded. Report. Unknown, sir, his engineer shouted. All systems are failing. It is like something is eating our power cores from the inside. Emergency lighting activated, casting everything in dim red. Gorveth could see his officers scrambling at dead consoles, their faces painted with terror. His personal communicator crackled. Somehow, impossibly, a human signal was cutting through. Admiral, Delgado's voice said, your fleet has been disabled. Every ship, every weapon, every engine. You are now drifting in our space, completely helpless. How? Gorveth whispered. We seeded your hull plating with machines too small to see, she explained. They activated the moment you entered our system. They have been spreading through your ships ever since, disabling everything they touch. Gorveth looked at his hands. At his ship, the humans had infected his entire fleet with invisible weapons, and he had never known. What do you want? He asked. We want you to leave, Delgado said. Take your fleet and return to Dominion space. Tell your emperor that Earth is not a world to be conquered. We are not asking, we are telling. Pride burned in Gorveth's chest. The Dominion did not retreat. The Dominion did not accept terms from lesser species. He opened his mouth to refuse. And then he saw something on the emergency sensors. Something massive was moving toward his fleet from the direction of Earth. It was larger than any vessel he had ever seen. Its shape was wrong, all angles and edges, like a weapon given physical form. Admiral, his sensor officer breathed, that ship, it is the size of a small moon. Gorvith stared at the approaching giant. His fleet was dead in space, his weapons were useless, and humanity had sent something that could swallow his flagship whole. You have 1 hour to respond, Delgado said. I suggest you use it wisely. The transmission ended. Gorvith stood alone on his darkened bridge, surrounded by the silence of a defeated fleet. For the first time in 300 years of conquest, he felt the cold grip of genuine fear. 40 minutes had passed since the fleet went dark. Gorvith had spent every one of them watching his officers fail to restore power. The massive human vessel hung in space nearby. It had not moved closer, it had not attacked, it simply waited, watching them with sensors that glowed like predator eyes in the darkness. Report, Gorvith demanded for the 100th time. Nothing works, his chief engineer admitted. Her voice cracked with exhaustion. The machines they planted, they are everywhere, in our conduits, in our computers, in our weapons, they eat any power we try to generate. Find a way, Gorvith snarled. A new voice cut through the bridge, young and trembling. Sir, we are receiving another transmission from the humans. Gorvith straightened his spine. Put it through. Admiral Delgado appeared on the emergency screen. Behind her, Gorvith could see dozens of human officers working at stations filled with holographic displays. They moved with calm efficiency, no panic, no urgency. They looked like people who had already won. Admiral Gorvith, Delgado said, you have 20 minutes remaining. Have you made your decision? You cannot expect me to simply retreat. Gorvith replied, the Dominion has never withdrawn from a conquest. My emperor would have me executed. That is a problem between you and your emperor, Delgado said. It is not our concern. Gorvith leaned forward. Why are you doing this? You have the power to destroy us. Why offer terms at all? Something shifted in Delgado's expression. For a moment, she looked tired, almost sad. Because we are not you, she said. We watched your empire for 200 years, we saw what you do to conquered species, the slavery, the genetic experiments, the extinction of any culture that resists. We know exactly what kind of monsters you are, and yet you show mercy. Gorvith said. Mercy is not weakness, Delgado replied. It is a choice. We choose not to become the thing we despise, even when facing it directly. Gorvith considered her words. In his long career, he had never encountered a species that possessed overwhelming power and refused to use it. The concept was alien to everything the Dominion believed. Your machines, he said slowly, the ones infecting my ships, what do you call them? Whispers, Delgado answered, because you never hear them coming. Can they kill? They can do anything we program them to do. Gorvith felt the weight of that statement. His entire fleet was held hostage by invisible machines. Every soldier, every ship, every weapon was under human control. They could kill 2 million Dominion troops without firing a single shot. Demonstrate, he said suddenly. Delgado raised an eyebrow. Excuse me, if you want me to believe in your power, show me, destroy one of my ships, prove that your weapons are as deadly as you claim. Silence stretched between them. Delgado studied him with those calm, ancient eyes. You want me to kill your own soldiers to prove a point? They are soldiers of the Dominion, Gorvith replied. They are prepared to die for the Empire. Choose a ship, any ship. Show me what humanity can do. Delgado shook her head slowly. We do not kill to prove points. That is what separates us from you. Then your threats are empty. No, Delgado said. Her voice hardened. Our threats are precise. We do not want to kill, but we will if you force us. The difference is that we give you every possible chance to avoid that outcome. She gestured to someone off screen. I am sending you data, sensor readings from your own ships. Look at what the whispers have done to your fleet. The information appeared on Gorvith's emergency display. His blood turned cold. The whispers had not just disabled his ships, they had taken root in every critical system, life support, reactor cores, hull integrity. The machines were wrapped around every vital function like parasites waiting to feed. We could collapse your reactors, Delgado explained. Every ship would explode simultaneously. We could vent your atmosphere. 2 million soldiers would suffocate in minutes. We could disable your hull plating and let the cold of space do our work for us. She paused, letting the horror sink in. We have the power to kill every single one of you, and we are asking you to leave peacefully instead. That is not weakness, Admiral. That is strength you cannot comprehend. Gorvith stared at the data. His fleet was not just disabled, it was already dead. The humans simply had not finished killing it yet. 15 minutes, Delgado said. I suggest you prepare your response. The transmission ended. Gorveth sat in his command chair, surrounded by the red glow of emergency lights and the terrified silence of his crew. For the first time in his life, he had met a species more powerful than the Dominion, and somehow, impossibly, they were offering him a chance to survive. He thought about his emperor, about the execution that awaited him if he retreated, about the death that awaited him if he did not. The choice was impossible. Both paths led to destruction, but only one path offered his soldiers a chance to live. Scylla was young for a Dominion officer, barely 30 cycles old. She had joined the fleet hoping to see the galaxy, to serve with honor, to make her family proud. She had not expected to die drifting in space near a planet of primitives. While Admiral Gorveth sat frozen in his command chair, Scylla made a decision that would change everything. She opened a private channel to the human frequency. Hello, she transmitted. Her claws trembled as she typed, My name is Scylla, I am a junior communications officer, I want to understand. The response came faster than she expected, a male human voice, calm and curious. Hello Scylla, I am David, I work with Admiral Delgado. What do you want to understand? Why? Scylla asked. Your weapons could destroy us instantly. Why are you giving us time? Why are you talking instead of killing? There was a pause. Scylla could almost feel the human thinking. Because killing is easy, David finally said, living with yourself afterward is hard. We learned that lesson many times in our history. Your species fights each other. We used to, constantly, brutally. We invented weapons that could destroy our entire world, and we almost used them. Several times, we came so close to extinction that we could taste it. Scylla leaned closer to her console. This was not what she had expected. The Dominion taught that primitive species were weak, disorganized, barely sentient. But this human spoke of surviving horrors that would have broken lesser civilizations. How did you survive? She asked. We chose differently, David said. We decided that destroying others was not strength, it was fear. True strength is having the power to kill and choosing not to. We built the Whispers to defend ourselves, but we designed them to disable rather than destroy. We wanted to give our enemies a chance to walk away. The Dominion does not walk away, we know. We studied your empire for 2 centuries, we know about the executions, the slave worlds, the exterminations. We know your admiral faces death if he retreats. Scylla felt tears forming in her secondary eyes. Then why bother? If you know we cannot leave, why offer mercy we cannot accept? Because someday, someone will accept, David said. Maybe not today, maybe not your admiral, but eventually, someone will choose survival over pride, and when they do, we want them to know that humanity will welcome them. Scylla looked around the darkened bridge. Young officers huddled at dead stations. Veterans stared at nothing, waiting for death. These were not conquerors, they were frightened people trapped by a system that valued obedience over life. I want to accept, she whispered. I want to live, but I am nobody. I cannot order a retreat. You are not nobody, David replied. You reached out, you asked questions, you chose curiosity over fear. That makes you braver than your admiral. Before Scylla could respond, a heavy hand fell on her shoulder. She looked up into the face of Gorveth himself. What are you doing? He demanded. Terror flooded her veins. She had committed treason. The punishment was death. I was talking to the humans, she admitted. There was no point in lying. I wanted to understand why they are sparing us. Gorveth should have killed her. Fleet regulations were clear. Unauthorized communication with enemy forces was punishable by immediate execution. Instead, he asked, what did they say? Scylla told him everything, the history of human violence, their choice to change, their hope that someday the Dominion would change too. Gorveth listened in silence. When she finished, he stood motionless for a long moment. They are foolish, he finally said. Mercy is weakness. The strong survive, the weak perish. This is the law of the universe, is it? Scylla asked. The words escaped before she could stop them. They are stronger than us, Admiral. They have proven it, and they are choosing mercy. Does that make them weak, or does it make them something else? Entirely. Gorveth stared at her. Nobody had ever questioned him like this, not in 300 years of conquest. Then, suddenly, the emergency systems crackled with a new signal, a priority transmission from Dominion space. The Emperor himself was calling. Gorvith moved to answer, but paused. He looked at Scylla, at his frightened crew, at the massive human ship waiting outside. Perhaps, he said quietly. Perhaps the law of the universe is not what we thought. He opened the channel. The Emperor's face appeared, cold and terrible, his words cut through the bridge like frozen blades. Admiral Gorvith, reinforcements are coming, the Grand Fleet will arrive within 3 days, you will hold position and await our arrival, any attempt to retreat will be punished by death, your bloodline will be erased, your home world will burn, this is my command. The transmission ended, Gorvith stood in the red emergency glow, faced with an impossible choice, death from the humans if he fought. Death from the Emperor if he fled. He looked at Scylla, she was crying now, but she met his eyes without flinching. Admiral, she said, what will you do? Gorvith was silent for a long time, then, slowly, he smiled. Something unprecedented, he said. 3 days had changed everything. Gorvith's fleet now orbited behind Earth's moon, the Whispers had been deactivated, systems restored, but no ship had attempted to flee. Instead, they waited, watching. Admiral Delgado stood beside Gorvith on the observation deck of the human command station. Together, they watched the Grand Fleet emerge from hyperspace, 5,000 warships, the largest military force ever assembled. Emperor Voldrin's personal armada, built to crush civilizations into dust. Beautiful, in a terrible way, Delgado murmured. Gorvith shook his head, they are death incarnate, I have seen what they do to worlds that resist. Nothing survives, not buildings, not people, not even the bacteria in the soil, and yet here you stand, with us. Gorvith turned to face her. You showed me something I had never seen, power without cruelty, strength without domination. My emperor would call it weakness. But I have watched your species for 3 days, I have seen how you treat each other, how you treat my soldiers. You gave us food, medicine, comfort, we were your enemies, and you cared for us anyway. Delgado smiled sadly. We have learned that enemies are just friends we have not made yet. The Emperor's transmission cut through their conversation, his ancient face filled the viewscreens, scales dark with age, eyes burning with cold fury. Humans of Earth, Voldrin announced, I am Emperor Voldrin, ruler of 40,000 worlds, master of 100 billion souls. You have committed an act of war against my dominion, you have corrupted one of my admirals, you have dared to believe you could resist us. He paused, letting his words echo through space. There will be no negotiation, no surrender, no mercy. Your planet will be sterilized, your colonies destroyed, your genetic code erased from the universe. You will serve as an example to any species foolish enough to defy us. The transmission ended. Delgado turned to her tactical officer. Are the Whispers in position? Yes, Admiral. Every ship in the Grand Fleet was seated the moment they entered our system, awaiting your command. Gorvith watched in amazement. The humans had done it again, 5,000 warships, and they had already been compromised. The Dominion never learned. We will give them one chance, Delgado said. She opened a broadcast to the entire Grand Fleet. Soldiers of the Dominion, this is Admiral Rosa Delgado of Earth. Your fleet has been infiltrated by our weapons. Your ships are no longer under your control. In 60 seconds, your vessels will be destroyed. This is not a threat, it is a warning. She took a breath. You have 1 minute to reach your escape pods. Run, and you will live. Stay, and you will die. The choice is yours. Make it now. The countdown began. On 5,000 ships, chaos erupted. Soldiers who had never questioned an order suddenly faced a terrible decision. Obey the Emperor and die, or flee and live. Gorvith watched the sensor displays. Escape pods began launching immediately. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Soldiers chose survival over loyalty, life over glory, but not all of them. Emperor Voldrin's flagship remained fully crewed. His personal guard would never abandon him. Hundreds of other ships followed his lead, loyal to the end. 30 seconds, the tactical officer announced. Those who remain have made their choice, Delgado said quietly. May whatever gods they believe in have mercy on them. 15 seconds, Gorvith felt Scylla appear beside him. She had been given sanctuary along with the rest of his crew. Now she watched her former civilization tear itself apart. 10 seconds, will this end it? She asked. No, Gorvith replied, but it will begin something new. 5 seconds, Delgado closed her eyes. Execute. Across the Grand Fleet, the Whispers received their final instructions. They did not simply disable systems this time. They turned them inward, weapons activated and fired into their own ships, reactors. Overloaded and collapsed, hull plating tore itself apart from the inside, 5,000 warships became 5,000 explosions, blooming like flowers of fire against the darkness. The escape pods drifted through the destruction, carrying hundreds of thousands of survivors, soldiers who had chosen life when death demanded their loyalty. Emperor Voldrin's flagship was the last to fall. It fought the Whispers longer than any other vessel, its crew struggling to regain control until the very end. His final transmission was a single word, screamed into the void, impossible, then silence. Delgado opened her eyes, the sensor displays showed nothing but debris and escape pods. The greatest military force in galactic history had been destroyed in less than a minute. Begin rescue operations, she ordered. Every survivor gets medical attention, food, and shelter. They are refugees now, not enemies. Gorvith stared at her. You just killed an emperor, destroyed an empire, and your first thought is to save the survivors. Delgado met his gaze. That is what separates us from what they were. We end threats. We do not end lives unless we must, and we never, ever stop caring about the ones we can save. Scylla was crying again, but this time, they were tears of hope. 1 year after the Grand Fleet burned, Gorvith walked through a garden on Earth. The flowers were strange to him, colors he had never seen on any of the worlds he conquered, scents that reminded him of nothing in his long memory. Children played nearby, human children and Dominion children together, their laughter mixing like music. He paused beside a fountain where water danced in the afternoon light. So much water. The humans used it for decoration, for beauty. On Dominion worlds, water was rationed and controlled. Here it flowed freely. You look thoughtful. Gorvith turned to find Admiral Delgado approaching. She no longer wore her uniform, just simple clothes suited to the warm weather. She looked tired but peaceful. I am remembering, he said, all the worlds I conquered, all the species I crushed. I told myself it was necessary, that the strong must rule the weak, that this was the natural order, and now I watch children play who should be enemies. I see soldiers who tried to kill each other sharing meals. I see something I thought was impossible. Delgado sat on the fountain's edge. Change, yes, change. The Dominion taught us that change was weakness, that tradition was strength. But your species changes constantly. You adapt, you grow, you become something new with every generation. It is how we survived ourselves, Delgado said. We came very close to extinction, many times, wars, plagues, climate disasters. Each time, we had to change or die. We chose to change. Gorvith sat beside her. The other Dominion worlds are changing too. The Empire is fractured, dozens of factions fight for control, but some of them are reaching out to Earth, asking for guidance, asking for help. I know, 47 worlds have sent representatives. They want to form a new coalition. Will you lead them? Delgado laughed softly. That is exactly what they asked, and I told them no. We did not fight to become rulers, we fought to remain free. If they want freedom, we will help them find it, but we will not conquer in the name of liberation. Gorvith considered this. The Dominion would see that as foolish. You have the power to rule the galaxy, and you refuse. Power without wisdom destroys everything it touches. Delgado replied. We have the wisdom to know our limits. We are good at defending. We are good at building. We are not good at ruling others, so we will not try. A small Dominion child ran past them, chasing a human boy. They were playing some game involving a ball and much laughter. The Dominion child's scales gleamed in the sunlight. That is Scylla's daughter, Gorvith said, born 3 months ago, the first Dominion child born on Earth. I know, I attended the naming ceremony. Her name means, new beginning, in our language. Scylla chose it because she wanted her daughter to grow up in a universe different from the one she knew. Delgado watched the children play. That is what we wanted. Not victory, not conquest, just the chance for every species to choose their own path, even the Dominion, even us. Gorvith agreed, even the monsters. You were never monsters, you were trapped in a system that demanded cruelty. Given the choice, you chose differently. That makes you exactly like us. The sun was setting now, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Gorvith had seen sunsets on 100 worlds, but none as beautiful as this. What happens now? He asked. Now we plant seeds, Delgado said. Freedom, compassion, trust. These things cannot be forced, they must be nurtured. We will help the former Dominion worlds grow, We will protect them while they learn, and someday, they will stand on their own, and if they choose to become conquerors again, then we will stop them, as we stopped you, but we will always give them a chance to choose differently first. That is who we are." Gorvith was silent for a long time. The children had stopped playing. Drawn by the beauty of the sunset, human and Dominion, standing together, watching colors dance across the sky. "I spent 300 years conquering worlds," he finally said. "I believed I was building something that would last forever. Instead, I was building prisons, cages for billions of souls." He looked at Delgado. "You ended all of it in seconds, not with greater cruelty, but with greater wisdom. You showed us that power means nothing without purpose, that strength is worthless without mercy, that the greatest victory is the one that creates no enemies." Delgado smiled. "We had good teachers, our own history, our own mistakes. We learned the hard way that destruction is easy, building something worth preserving is the real challenge." The stars were appearing now. Gorvith looked up at them. Somewhere out there, 40,000 worlds were learning to be free. It would take generations. There would be setbacks and failures, but the seed had been planted. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For showing us that there was another way. For proving that the universe does not have to be ruled by fear, for giving us a new beginning." Delgado took his hand, a gesture of friendship that would have been impossible 1 year ago. "That is what humans do," she said. "We believe in second chances, always." The stars shone down on a galaxy forever changed, not by weapons, but by an idea, that the greatest power is the choice not to use it, and somewhere in the darkness, hope was spreading.